This week on the Baseline Podcast, Josh and I are talking about Guardians versus Reds baseball, and I am bringing out the broom, and I'm going to sweep my way into a conversation with Josh, and also we're going to discuss our top U23 talent in Major League Baseball by giving you our U23 baseball team. If we could take all the guys that are under 23, form a team, we would discuss who we would pick and why we would pick them, all that and so much more coming up in the Baseline Podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the episode of the Baseline Podcast. I'm Ben, that's Josh, and some would say we are sweeping our way through another episode of the podcast. I've had a great week. Football's going well. We're in the playoffs this week, and there's just something about a good broom. A good broom on a nice week. It's a little rainy, but good broom to sweep up things that need to be swept. And so that's how my week's going. Josh, how are you doing, bud?
I didn't really sweep anything. I've been watching the rain. The 80-degree weekend that we had turned into a 50-degree week. Been signing up overtime shifts at work, been eating food, going to the gym, and most recently, as before we started recording, trying to figure out how to sell tickets on StubHub and successfully produce a mobile ticket transfer. So the story is, I bought tickets to go see The Fray, their How to Save a Life 20th anniversary tour. And then about 2 months later, I get invited to a friend's wedding. That's also on the same day, so I can't do both. I'm going with the wedding. I figure I'll just sell the tickets. I have a buyer now, but now StubHub is telling me that in order to do the transfer, I need to go to the original venue that I bought the tickets. And I'm like, wait a minute, I bought it from you guys, and I don't even physically have the ticket yet because I was buying a mobile transfer from whoever the heck the seller was. So I'm like, how am I going to transfer tickets that I bought on your site, by the way, that I don't even physically have yet, to this buyer so I don't get in trouble and charge like extra fees for screwing up? And they're making it very clear that it's my responsibility to make the transfer happen. I'm like, why can't your guys' website do this? Why am I even using your guys' site in the first place? But I got to figure out like where these tickets are located so I can go ahead and do the actual transfer. And I might have to call customer service, but that's all just a very long delay because I don't want to really talk about, or I'm not really excited to talk about things that happened over the weekend. If you guys are only listening and not on YouTube, you should probably just watch the first 2 minutes of this because I'd say that if I was a neutral fan, it's worth the view to know what's exactly going on here.
Listen, and the only Okay, breaking this from being just annoying, because I'm sure I'm annoying a lot of Guardian fans, like my pastor. I would just say this. You got to realize, as a Reds fan, this has not happened. And if you don't know what we're talking about the Reds versus Guardians. As you know, it's the Battle of Ohio. It's a big thing.
Ohio Cup.
The Reds haven't won an actual, the overall season series in a few years. It's been a while. But they haven't swept the Guardians in any of the two series that usually do two series a year. They haven't swept any of the series since 2012. So it's been like 13 years. And so when it happened this weekend, I thought, oh, this is a perfect way to go continue into a great season, right? As much as I'm bragging about this, I have to be honest with the people. And the honest thing is that we just lost a series to the Pittsburgh Pirates 2-1, who are 16 and 30 something, and then we lost the week prior to the White Sox, also 2-1 in a series. So this is a consolation prize of just the sourness that I have of everything going on. But generally, we have a lot of baseball talk we're going to talk about today. We have a fun topic that we're obviously going to talk about that we've kind of been working on behind the scenes. But what do you think about jumping into the Guardians versus Reds series? I think that's a great way to start, kind of a perfect segue. I was very interested to hear your thoughts on this because as a Reds fan, I was a little shocked, right? Because the Guardians have been playing pretty good baseball. Obviously, they had their ups and downs, but for the most part, they've been playing some solid baseball, up there and near first place. Whereas the Reds had kind of been in this, they were in like a 4-game losing streak or whatever it was, and kind of slowly slipping down to, 6 games back. I'm going, oh boy. and then you get the Guardians into town. And I was very interested to see what would happen, and it just seemed like the Reds just had like an extra fire, and I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was Francona facing the Guardians again. I don't know what it was, but it was a very interesting series, and it's not like the Reds really outplayed it. It was really basically Will Benson, who's also a former Guardians
A
player
Cleveland product. Yep,
that
that hurt.
just who, by the way, couldn't hit the ball to save his life the last 2 years, and all of a sudden is now starting to rake. What is your thoughts on the series as a Guardians fan from that perspective? And I'll give my take on the Reds, but what is your thoughts there for the series and how that it seems like it's kind of hit you guys now on a low, and it seems like you guys can't really get out of it.
We are right now on a low. Yeah, we went into that series 25 and 18. We were just a couple games behind Detroit, and after being swept there, we've already lost our first game to the Twins, which is a division opponent, and right now we're losing 1-0 as I speak. So it looks like we might be on a free fall. We went from second in the division, American League Central, to fourth. So it's you guys caught us at like a really good time where we're not playing our best baseball, and we only scored 6 runs in these 3 games. So that kind of tells you everything that you need to hear there too. But to the Reds side, maybe there is a little bit of extra motivation from Tito Francona, but I think it also just goes to what we've talked about this Reds team all year, which is this team is super talented.
Super
A lot of that
inconsistent.
talent is young though, and it's inconsistent. And you can see that, just like you said, from following up this Cleveland series with the Pittsburgh series, which is or
Should
team
be
that's
an
pretty much
easy
just
sweep.
been,
Should be an
yeah,
easy sweep without
yeah,
Paul
one of the
Skeens. They didn't have
worst.
to face Paul Skeens in this series.
Didn't even have to face Paul Skeens, one of the worst offenses in baseball. And yeah, so they go on there super high. Like I said, catching Cleveland kind of at a good time, but no excuses here. They got the job done, but then go to Pittsburgh and
Lay an egg,
end up
as they would
dropping
say.
that series.
And
Yeah,
they face the Cubs next, which is not exciting for me at all. So
yeah, yeah. And that's going to be one of
this is
those where it's
pivotal.
like
This
the
is pivotal.
division.
If
Yeah,
they lose this, they're going to be at least 8 games back, maybe 9 games back, and now
yeah.
you're
You're going to be
now
in the
you're
same
talking a
boat as
completely yeah.
you're going to be in the same boat as us right
And
now.
the issue is the NL, the second wild card is like 8 games over 500. So like you can't be playing around
Yeah,
at 500 this year. It's just not
National League
possible.
West is tough right now,
Yeah.
and we'll see if the National League East teams can get on their feet. I
What
know the Phillies and the Braves got some
what
deficiencies.
what do you think that the Reds did this week? Do you think it was the fact that they're start because this is the thing, the Reds have had a great bullpen. They're a top 8 bullpen right now in baseball. So you knew the bullpen was good. It was the starters that were always kind of shaky. Do you feel like the Reds just had a game plan to attack? It's almost like they felt like we'll give Jose Ramirez what they give him, let him get his few hits and his stolen bases. And it was almost like we're going to make everyone else like basically try to win it for them. That's what it at least felt me when it came to the pitching side for the Reds. They try to force the Guardians to say, "We'll give Jose his thing. Everyone else has to beat us now."
Yeah, yeah, it's tough to say. I'm running through the box scores to see if my memory can jog anything. At least for the 4-1 loss in the second game, they had 8 hits in that one, but then
Yeah.
they only were able to get 1 run. Same deal with the third game too. They had 9 hits in that game, but just scored 1 run. So
It kind of feels like the old Guardians from a couple years ago when they would like get a ton of hits, but they just wouldn't score.
that's yeah, that team a few years ago, that
They would just
super
get
young team
hits
that
and
kind of
hits and everything. Yeah.
overachieved. Yeah, batting average was what we were great at, and
Just
what I
couldn't
hated
drive
about it
anything
was
in.
that you would need to get 3 hits
Singles.
in an inning to get, yeah, 3 hits in an inning to get a run basically. And then when you got to play a team like New York that can score 1 run on one swing, it's like, well, we're not going to get anything done here this way.
Well, and you look at the Reds though too. Is like you look at like McLean hitting like 180, and then you have De La Cruz. Yeah, he's hitting 255, but his on base percentage is 320. Right? Like I agree with you when you said the Reds are inconsistent because that series they looked all like all stars, and then now it's like how do you only score 1 run? Like if you didn't know this, the Reds scoring 1 run or 1 run or less basically, or at least 1 run, they're 0 and 20. When they score 1 run or less, they're 0 and 20 this year. Like it's sad, man. It's just like it reminds me a lot of like the Reds teams from the mid 2000s that were just like or 2010s that were like talented to make the playoffs, but they just couldn't be consistent enough. So
Yeah.
it was an interesting series because yes, I'm bragging about a sweep, but then at the same time I'm going we can't even freaking beat the worst team in the NL Central. So Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen, man. I got tickets to the Reds versus Dodgers in July, and I'm just like, I don't know what's going to happen.
This is the part that's going to make me sick. So this is game three. I was running through the box score the first two games,
Oh
and
boy, it's going to really make you sick. I can feel it. If you're
well,
talking about it.
game two we left it said it in the box score. We left four men on base or three
Yeah,
men on
I
base and
remember that.
went
Yeah.
one for four with runners in scoring position. So we looks like we ran into some double plays there. But the third game, the one that we got 9 hits and scored one run, we went 2 for 16 with runners in scoring position
Oh,
and left 12 men on base.
that hurts. Oh, that
Yep.
hurts. But again, that's like that almost sounds like a Red stat. Like when you read that, that sounds like the Reds because that's what the Reds do. They get it like in last night or the night before. Yeah, so the night before it was 1-0 in the bottom nine, and they could have put a lefty against a righty, and they decided to leave a righty in because they thought, oh, he's been hitting 270. I'm like, dude, put the matchup. I don't care what he's been hitting. Like, put the dude that can rake. I don't know. But again, I think just we can agree that the Guardians and Reds are just kind of in a weird spot right now.
How do you feel after the weekend
Mhm.
about Pagan at closer? That's
Honestly,
something that you
like
guys have
this is
been
the
looking
thing.
for.
You know, I loved Diaz 2 years ago.
Hmm.
Diaz was amazing. I think what's happened is he's gotten tired, and also he doesn't have a lot of pitch selection. He's a very like, if one pitch is off, he's different than his brother. His brother has just electric stuff all the time. I think my thing is that the problem with Pagano is he's not a burner. He's not a guy that's gonna like throw like he's not gonna throw 100 mile an hour pitches. He's not like a Roldis Chapman, right? Like part of me just wants to get Roldis Chapman. He was 37 and throwing 102. But I think with Pagan is that he's kind of a finesse guy. I mean, because he's started games before. Like he's one of those guys that people are like, well, why are they pitching him like four straight games? Like, well, he does have stamina. He's not like one of these closers that can go 3 outs and then that's it. And I think with Pagan, everyone's like, oh, his ERA is pretty high. I'm like, yeah, but he only is pitching, 1 inning a game. For the most part, he's been well, man. Like I don't have a problem with him. My worry is how's he going to be late in the season because he's never done this for like a full season before. I personally think they should put Luis May, who throws 102, or I think even Graham Ashcraft would be a great closer. But again, I'm going to trust Tito on this. Like Francona is the best in the business for a reason. I don't know what he saw in Pagan. Maybe it was just the stuff he has because I think he has like 3 or 4 pitches. Which how many times have you seen a closer, Josh, that has 3 or 4 pitches?
Yeah,
There's not many
usually they got
closers.
like two,
They got a
maybe
fastball
three.
slider or a cutter
Yeah,
slider or changeup.
that's
And
like the deal with Class A at least.
yeah, so I mean, you look at Pagan, he has 3 or 4 pitches that he can throw, and I think that makes him a tough guy to get figure out in a late innings. But the thing is about Pagan is when he does struggle, it's very obvious. And that's the
Mhm.
one thing I don't like, is that when he goes has an off game, he'll give up 4 runs in the ninth inning. That's just the way he is.
Yeah, the 3.52 ERA right now that he's got kind of speaks to some of that inconsistencies. You for a closer, you really don't want to see that ERA really
No.
into threes at all
But
because
then
it
when he does
indicates
lock
that
down, he locks down. And that's the weird thing about him. It's like when he does lock down, he locks down.
yeah. Yeah, so like I said, Cleveland right now, they gotta figure some things out. This is I haven't really seen a month of May slump from them before. It's always been like a April and May combined to be not that great, then heat
Yeah.
up. But then last year they had the hot start and really stayed hot most of the year. Now
Hmm.
we're in a I mean this team had some weaknesses going in. We gotta figure some things out. I think that some of these guys, possibly like Daniel Schneemann, like Gabe Arias, like Angel Martinez, that were looking promising or like starting uncharacteristically hot at the start of the year,
Hmm.
maybe coming back down to earth a little bit. And we're gonna have to once again just, I guess, find our offense outside of Steven Kwan and Jose Ramirez.
Yeah, I think it's the same. I think it's the same with the Reds, man. Like that. I think it's worse for the Reds than the Guardians because I feel like I could see the potential with the Guardians. With the Reds, like I don't know who's going to hit good the next month. Like I really like when I watch this team, it's like De La Cruz had that 16 game hit or 15 game hitting streak or whatever it was. He looked amazing, and then the next 10 games, he could barely hit the ball. And it's like I just and now I understand why they're hesitant to pull the trigger on a big extension because yeah, he has
Mm-hmm.
all the potential in the world, but you look at Acuna, you look at Riley, you look at these other guys that got these extensions when they were young Albies is that they were consistent every year. They hit 270. They had an on base percentage of 340, 350. But with De La Cruz, it's like 1 month he's hitting 185, next month he's hitting 320. And it's just like I think they're waiting and going like, when's it going to click? When's he going to figure it out? When are they finally going to pull the trigger? And I think that's what they're waiting on. I think personally, right? Like I think that's what kind of they're trying to figure out is like, because I think they know they have at least another 4 or 5 years. We can control him for that. And then
Right.
if he doesn't figure it out by then, now we didn't waste money because they don't want to fall into the Joey Votto situation where the last 5 years of his contract, they're paying $40 million a year for a guy who's basically doing not much. And I think they're worried about that, I think, at the end of the day.
Yeah. Being 23 right now, if they gave him a 10-year deal right now, that'd give him till, 33. So
and you would basically buy out the arbitration years, which would save you money, I think, in the long term as well.
Mm-hmm. Final thoughts on Cleveland, just to kind of speak on how the offense is in its current state. They rank 24th in RBIs right now. They're 23rd in batting average. They are 21st in slugging percentage, and in OPS, they are loading up right now, 21st. 686 OPS as a team sucks.
Yeah. That's such a Guardian stat right there. That's such a How many poke singles do the Guardians have?
Mm-hmm. And if you want to know how they are on the diamond, they're 20th in ERA right now.
Dude, that is not a Guardian stat. That is not a Guardian stat.
That's the one where it's like, okay, well, we've been able to get by with below average offense for quite a while because of the Cleveland pitching factory, but we haven't really had that either. There's not been too many starters we can count. We're still waiting for Shane Bieber to get back. They're hoping that Tris McKenzie can figure some things out in the minor leagues, but yeah, it's a interesting time in Cleveland right now. This was I guess some results that I'm not too shocked by based on my preseason predictions for this team. It's like, yeah, we got some clear weaknesses right now. We didn't really do a whole lot to get better, and Detroit did, and at least the division results are showing that. Minnesota just came off of like a 13 or 14 game win streak. So they're figuring things out, and they're healthy right now for the most part. And Kansas City, I mean, they're Kansas City. They're going to do what they do, kind of like how it is in Cleveland. So that division's a race once again.
Yeah. It's just a fascinating time for baseball. And I think that leads us into the main topic for today. Now, there are a couple announcements with basketball, and we'll talk about the tush push a little bit at the end of the show. Mm-hmm. But the main topic for today is Josh came up with this idea. He said, Ben, you know what? It's kind of a boring time of sports outside of baseball. There's not really much going on. NBA Finals, obviously, will be coming up soon, but right now it's just the semifinals. And the Cavs aren't playing, so Josh and I really don't care. And also the fact that there's no good teams left, really. It's going to be one of those lousy finals matchups, I feel like. But anyways, I think Josh brought up this idea. Why don't we do an under 23 starting lineup for baseball? Major League Baseball, we have it's a youth surge. There's so many youth players that are playing the MLB now. Let's come up with our top lineup for U23, which basically means if they're 23 or under. And we agreed that even before the show, we agreed that if we wanted to use a minor leaguer that is kind of on the cusp, we can use them. I think my lineup is pretty dope, but I bet Josh and I are going to have some similar thoughts, but then there's also going to be some differences here. But I think we should start. Do you want to start like positional? You want to start like outfield and move our way in? Do we go outfield, move our way in?
I think that's great because outfield from digging around was the most stacked, and I think probably
it was so stacked,
hardest decisions to make. So,
and we can only have three, by the way. And we're including a DH. I think we can include.
I do have a DH in my lineup. Yeah, I pulled my DH from the outfield pool.
Of course you did.
Yeah, had to do that. But just running through, not all of these guys are superstars yet, but the potential's definitely been there. Like,
so go left field to your right field. That's how we'll do it. Left field to right field.
So left field, I'm rolling with Jackson Chourio from Milwaukee.
He's a stud, dude.
Yeah.
He's so young.
Came onto the scene I think 20 years old last year.
21 right now.
Was
Jeez.
pushing in that Rookie of the Year
He's
race.
the youngest player,
Uh,
I think, right now, by the way, I believe, in baseball. Pretty sure.
he might be. I don't know if that's the case. That probably was last year, either him or
No, no, he
Jackson
is. He
Holiday.
is. Jackson Holiday is, I'm just looking up here. Jackson Holiday is 8 months older
Okay,
than Jackson Churio. So Jackson Churio is the youngest guy at 21.
there you go. Yeah, I think he was the youngest guy to hit 2 home runs in the playoff game last year, but he's not. Look, he's kind of in a cold spell right now as far as like the batting average goes and stuff. Right now, it's not where it was last year, but love the glove. Love what I saw the first year, and definitely one of baseball's bright young faces. So I'm putting him in left field.
Mm. Ooh.
Then center field. This one was probably the easiest pick to make, and that was Pete Crow Armstrong from the
Dude,
Chicago Cubs.
amazing defense, Joe. Amazing defense.
Amazing defense. Yeah, you besides the
Speed
fact that I think he's second in all of baseball in WAR right now, just behind Aaron Judge,
because of his
uh,
defense.
mostly because of defense,
Yeah,
and I think he still does have double-digit home runs, and
he
he's hitting
does. Yeah, he
285.
does. Yeah.
One of the fastest guys in the league. His range is crazy. You look at I think all the defensive metrics.
They said he's like Ellie of the outfield. That's what they say. He's like an Ellie De La Cruz of the outfield.
Yeah,
His
you look
range.
you look at like outs above average, you look at defensive runs saved, you look at range, like I think he's like top seven in the entire league in all those, not just for outfielders. And then when you look at like as far as the batting stats go for center fielders, he's pretty much second to everybody except Andy Pages from the Dodgers. That's another bright young face, but he was 24, so couldn't be included in this list. But Pete Crow Armstrong, yeah, not just one of the best young players, he's one of the best players in baseball
Yeah.
this season, period, right now. And then right field, I decided to roll with Jackson Merrill, who was the runner-up to Paul Skeens last year in the Rookie of the Year race. Uh, was hurt for a little bit this year, so the totals when you guys run through the stats aren't going to exactly be the same. But he pushed for a 2020 season last year. He's had a few multi-homer games himself. He's had some clutch moments. Looks like he's going to be a staple here. The Padres locked him up, I think, for something like 9 years, 135 million. So they got him on one of those team-friendly deals long term. He's going to be a nice staple piece in that offense for a
Yeah.
while, and probably a consistent
Hmm.
all-star outfielder in the National League as long as he's out there.
Yeah.
So
Should I go? Yeah, 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 yeah.
that's my outfield.
Should I
Uh,
do mine?
you can go ahead and do yours, and I'll
Yeah.
throw out some others that were like hard to leave off, but
Yeah.
definitely had a
So,
case.
so mine was interesting. I agree with you on Jackson Churio. He's my left fielder. I think and the thing is, he's got range to play center field. I think he could play center field. I think he could play right field. Like, a lot of these guys, I feel like you could move around to different spots in the outfield.
Yeah, like I moved Merrill from center to right.
Yeah. I'm going to say Jackson Churio for me is left field. I'm going to go center field. Like, I think I'd be stupid to put anyone Pete Crow Armstrong. I will say, though, um, I think secretly, De La Cruz would be an amazing center fielder. That's just me. But yeah, I'm going to do that at center field. Um, right field, I didn't go Merrill. And maybe this is where I probably get some flack, and I'm okay with that. Dude, I'm going with Jason Dominguez in right field.
That was
Like
one that was hard
this
to leave
dude,
off.
this dude's a switch hitting bomb maker. I mean, this dude, they
Has a
call
three
him,
home run
they
game
call
already, I
him the
think.
Martian. Like, I'm sorry, your nickname's the Martian. You're gonna be in my top nine here to play. So I'm gonna go Jason Dominguez. He's only 22 years old. He just turned 22, so he's still very young. He's a switch hitter. He's kind of like that guy that's now going to be coming up after Judge. After these guys kind of leave in the future. So I'm gonna go Jason Dominguez as my right fielder. And one of the tough guys I left off was Merrill. Doesn't even make my team, which I think is stupid, shocking for me to say. But again, that's how deep the outfield was, and it's very hard to put the guys you want. I'm a very power leaning guy, so I like my outfielders outside of Crow Armstrong. I like my guys that can hit 20, 25 homers, maybe steal some bases, but play good defense. And I think these guys kind of give me that range that I'm looking for.
Dominguez was a hard one to leave off, and when I was initially putting my roster together, I thought he'd be a guy that'd be on it, and I still almost did just because of the potential. Still a rookie, still young, 22 years old, like you said, one of those prospects that baseball's been talking about for a while, and
Yeah.
already has had a 3 homer game. Looks like he's going to be a solid piece out there in the Bronx for the Yanks. But yeah, that was definitely a hard one to leave, as was guys like Wyatt Langford over with Texas, who
Yeah,
was a
forgot about him too.
top five
Yeah,
pick and top five pick in his class just a couple years ago. And Cam Smith from the Astros, that's
he technically could
another
play infield
talked
too.
about rookie.
Technically, you could put him in the infield. Cam Smith's
Yeah,
one of those guys who could play in the infield too.
yeah, you can move them around, but yeah, those guys all definitely had a case, and yeah, so that's who I rolled with the outfield. And you mentioned your outfield. Do you want to kick off your
Yeah.
infield
Yeah, let's do
situation?
this. So the infield was stupid hard, and I don't know why, because there's not many great guys. It's just there's so many dudes that are so close or the same position, and it drove me insane. Um, so third base. This one's weird because there's not a lot of young good players at third base. At least I think primary third baseman, not guys that can play third base.
Third base is one of those that I was
Yeah.
considering maybe moving a shortstop
Yeah.
to.
So that's what I end up doing because I said, you know, what's a guy? I think there's a lot of guys that I think could play there. Um, I'm thinking of like Cam Smith. He could play there, but I didn't put him on. And I'm actually going to move. This is where I'm going to put. Actually, this is where I'm going to put. I'm not going to move him. Sorry, I don't know why I said move him. I'm going to put Junior Caminero here from the Tampa Bay Rays. This dude, he's one of those guys that I think I think it's gonna take him a few years because he's super young. I think he's only 21. Yeah, he's only 21. He doesn't turn
He is
22 until
21.
July. For me, I think he's 6'1", so he's not a big third baseman, which, some people would say that's a bad thing. I don't think it is. But he's got great bat speed, which is what I've heard many analysts say, that he's got great bat speed. And what do I know about if you have great bat speed and you're a third baseman, it means you probably hit 20 to 30 home runs. But he's a guy I think that can do a lot defensively. I think you can move him around too. I don't think you can just play third base. I think you could move him around if you wanted to. But for me, Junior Caminero, who I think is going to be a star here in the making, as long as he develops well, which is the Rays the right team he should be at? That's the question. But I'm going to go Junior Caminero here at third base. Shortstop. I mean, do I have to have to say him? Do I have to go into specifics? Yes. It is going to be Max. No, I'm kidding. It's going to be Ellie De La Cruz. Ellie De La Cruz barely breaks this in because he's turned 23 this past January, so he's kind of like right on the cusp. But Ellie De La Cruz, dude, have you seen, like, yes, he has 10 errors this year already. Okay, it does look terrible, but those are throws. The range this guy has from shortstop, when he goes out to middle of left field to catch a like soft pop line drive, is wild to me. The moves he makes, he's a switch hitter. He's got power. Now, I've talked about earlier in the show, and Josh knows I'm very hesitant with him because he is inconsistent. But I think the potential is so big that if I'm doing an under 23 lineup, I can't beat the speed mixed with the home run power, mixed with the athleticism. Heck, if you don't put him at shortstop, you could put him at DH. You could put him in the outfield. Do something with that athleticism. And so for me, I'm going to put Ellie De La Cruz at shortstop. Then second base. This is another one where I had to move a guy to from another position to that current position. And so for me, I was looking around and I said, who can I put there that would make sense? And so I actually went with a guy who I think is probably a better shortstop than he is second base, and that is going to be Jackson Holiday. I think he's probably going to be a shortstop in the bigs. I think long term, if he gets rid of if Gunnar Henderson obviously leaves the Orioles at some point. But for me, Jackson Holiday is just a guy who I think fits that second base mantra. He struggled a lot last year, which was surprising
Yeah,
how
that
much he
was
struggled.
such a
But
strikeouts all the time.
he's turned his hitting seems to be he's kind of fixed things. It looked like he had an 865 OPS in spring training, which I think is what caught people's eye. And I think he's really doing some really good job this year early on. I'm going to do Jackson Holiday. He's only 21 years old. The dude's going to be around for a long time. So I'm going to Jackson Holiday. And then at first base, there's really not many good first basemen. Like at least in the top, in my mind, the top guys. So I did something kind of unique here. And I'm actually going to pull an outfielder to play first base. Am I allowed to do that, Josh? as the rule
You're allowed to put
counsel.
these guys wherever you
Okay.
want. The defensive ramifications are all on you.
Yes. I'm going to put James Wood at first base. I think he's a prototypical 6'7", 6'6" dude that's going to move from the left field, right field, and he's going to move to first base later in his career. I want to put James Wood. The dude can hit bombs, but he's also faster than people realize. And I think he kind of fits that perfect mold of a guy you move from outfield to the first base. So I'm going to go James Wood at first base, and then we'll get to the catcher here in a later, but I'll let you do the infield there.
All right. So, few of the same guys here. Junior Camaneros, who I put at third base as well, a guy that really burst onto the
Yeah,
scene
I did.
last year, just smoking baseballs, like you said, hard
Hits
hit.
it so hard, dude.
Yeah. Right now, he's hitting 230 with 8 homers, 20 RBIs, and 662 OPS. So they don't look great. I'm banking on that getting corrected and looking better eventually down the road. But like you said, there weren't a whole lot of third basemen to choose from, and I'm going to
Yeah.
go with the guy that I think has a high ceiling right here, a guy that's got like a potential 30 home run bat in this league, and go with Caminero there. Now, shortstop was the absolute most loaded position. So, well, besides the outfield, second most. So you got Jacob Wilson here, who's top 5 in the league in batting
Weirdest batting
average.
stance of all time.
Yeah, he's looking like he could be another like Luis Ariz, Tony Gwynn type guy. Probably going to win Rookie of the Year. I think he's a rookie. Was called up, I think, earlier this year, but definitely fitting in and doing good there. There's Mason Wynn over with the
Got a
Cardinals, who's
cannon
another
of an
one.
arm.
Yeah, another really solid shortstop that seems to be finding his bat this year, as the Cardinals have been figuring it out. And then your guy Ellie, like I almost actually moved Ellie to third base
Which they've
because
talked about for years. They've talked about for years moving him to
I
third.
really wanted him in this lineup, and I was just like, man, if I can have like imagine Ellie De La Cruz like over the next 10 years, what that could look like. But I was just like,
Imagine six
as
foot seven third baseman, by the way.
yeah, that's the other crazy thing. So, as it stands right now, Gunnar Henderson is 23. He turns 24, I think, later in the summer. So, since he's still 23, I'm going to put him at this
Fine.
spot. There's just, it's hard to pass up Gunnar Henderson here. Like, even as loaded as that whole position is, a guy that's been one of those young bats that's panned out for the Orioles, a guy that's been
Even though the Orioles
uh,
suck.
the Orioles do suck this year, and we actually will talk about that later in the show with some of these manager firings that have happened. There's the most recent one, Brandon Hyde. But Henderson last year, 37 home runs, 92 RBIs, was hitting 281, slugging 529, OPS 879, and a WAR of 9. Like, give me more of that. And since I can still do that since he's 23, uh,
I'll
I'm going to
allow
go
it.
ahead and put him at
I'll allow
short.
it.
Moving over to second base, I did pick his teammate Jackson Holliday here. Christian Campbell was a name that I was thinking about, but he's currently super cold stretch right now. He's like 4 for his last 50 or something like that.
And they also
Not
gave
to
him an
say,
8-year contract.
yeah, it's not to say that like he's absolutely done for just because he's in a cold spell
Spell,
right
yeah.
now, but uh, Luis Angel Acuna is another one from the Mets. That's Ronald Acuna's brother. Right now, that's mostly a name value pick. It would be waiting to see some more production there. But Jackson is a former #1 overall pick. Uh, we already talked about the strikeout struggles last year, just seeing the ball. But this year, it's making a lot better contact. His slash lines are up. He's hitting some home runs, even being like a smaller guy over at second base. But a guy that I can definitely see turning a corner. He's definitely figured some things out, even just from year 2 to year 1. So I'm going to put him at second. And first base, yeah, this was probably the easiest pick to make. I rolled with Tyler Soderstrom from the
Yeah. Yeah.
A's,
Yeah.
Jake Wilson's teammate over there, a guy that I'll go ahead and bring up some of the numbers he's putting up this year. The A's have actually been one of the more surprising teams this year. That's because of guys not just like Jacob Wilson and Brent Rooker and Leroy Butler, but Soderstrom's been a solid pick too. He's hitting 270, 10 home runs, 30 RBIs, 810 OPS. It's nothing that's going to be like, wow, that's insane, but it's definitely acceptable and someone that I can go ahead and throw over at first base. So yeah, Soderstrom right now as it stands is 23 years old. Turns 24 in the fall. So
Look at you on the
that's
edge,
my
living
infield.
on the
Yeah,
edge.
pushing these a little bit. If we would have done this show like a month from now, I wouldn't have been able to get Gunner.
Look at you. You look at your timing. You little cheapskate there.
So we gotta. You want to go ahead and go catcher pitcher here?
Yeah. You go with catcher and pitcher, and then I'll follow you.
Okay.
I'm guessing we're gonna have the same pitcher and catcher. I have a feeling we might.
Well, as far as big league catchers go this year, there have
There's
been
like none.
three
Yeah.
that have played an inning, or at least an inning. So I was thinking about going the prospect route, and I know Sam
Dude's a
Basallo
freak,
from
dude.
the
Dude's a freak.
Orioles. He's one of those guys that I don't know when exactly he'll be coming up because Adley Rutschman's already over there for them.
Yeah.
So is this guy going to be a trade piece, or are they going to figure out where to move him somewhere? Are they going to eventually put Adley at
Mhm.
first? Because I mean, Adley's defense is absolutely insane. You want him behind the plate. But I decided to roll with Agustin Ramirez
Yeah, from the
from
Marlins.
the
Yeah.
Miami Marlins. Yeah, I'll go ahead and pull up some of the numbers he's been putting up. I don't think yeah, he's played 25 games, so he hasn't been up exactly the whole season. But for a catcher to have a 245 batting average, 6 home runs, and an 853 OPS, I can definitely take that. Like I said, as far as the big league options go, there really aren't that many, and he's got, I think, the most action this year, and it's definitely uh, productive enough at the plate and hitting and fielding wise to go ahead and pick him. But this is where I almost went prospect route.
I'll be honest with you. I had the same guy. I chose the exact same guy as you. Um, I just kind of looked at like again. I just don't trust guys that haven't produced at the major league level because I don't know how good they're going to be. Like they could come up and hit like 160, and then I'm like I look
Yeah,
like an idiot. So Gus Ramirez, I feel like he's in a good situation. I think in Miami where there's not pressure to be successful. Like let's say he was in New York City, right, with New York or in L.A. Like there'd be that pressure to be like the best rookie ever, right? And I think that to me is like someone with Basayo, if he came up, now you're competing against Rutschman. So for me, I think, I guess it was almost a toss up for me, like who are you going to pick for this? And so for me, I think Ramirez makes sense for that, for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, catcher's one of those positions where it's like it's hard to find a guy that mashes, but I think the league right now, the looking around at like William and Wilson Contreras, Cal Raleigh,
Or
Will
you go the
Smith,
Guardians route and just get a guy
Adley.
that hits under 200.
Yeah, that's how it usually is the catch position, but there's so many guys that can hit
That can
at the catch
rake.
position right now, and since Ramirez is already seemingly doing that, I'm just going to go ahead and bank on that. Pitcher,
I think we're both
I
going the
know I've
same
said
here.
a yeah, I think you got to go Paul Skeens,
Oh,
right?
it's not even close. It's not even
Absolutely Paul
close.
Skeens. Now, before we go into, how absolutely amazing Paul Skeens is, there's also at the starting rotation Logan Henderson, who is on a tear right now with the Brewers. I think he's 3-0 in his first starts, and I think he's the first. I don't know if it was the first pitcher. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up this stat. I thought it was pretty impressive and worth
You
mentioning.
also have AJ Smith Shawver, who debuted in 2023 at 20, which I didn't even realize. So he's basically been playing for like the last
He's been
3
playing a
years.
while. Yeah.
And he's
Okay,
only
so
22
Logan.
years old.
Yeah, Logan's not the first. He's the 10th pitcher since 1901 to strike out at least 7 batters in each of his first 3 starts. But he's the first to do it for the Brewers. So he's 3-0 right now with a 169 ERA, 23 strikeouts, and an .81 WHIP. That could be a guy that's going to be a dominant arm in this league. And like you just said, AJ Smith-Shawver over from the
Seems like he's
Braves,
been playing forever now.
rising to, yeah, he's had a few years in and still surprisingly 23 or under. Uh, then there's Jackson Jobe over from Detroit, recent draft pick that's
Yeah.
panning out for them right now. The ERA is still a little bit high, but a guy that could be a dominant arm in this league. But yes, Paul Skeens, I think anybody turning down Paul Skeens at this position would just be absolutely insane. Uh, Basically, everything that's been said about him has probably been said up to this point. One of the best pitchers in baseball last year,
And he's
getting
with the
that start in the
Pirates.
All-Star game. It just sucks that he's with the Pirates. The ERA I think has gone a little up this year, but
They're
I don't
slowly
expect that
figuring
to
him
be a
out.
trend.
But they're slowly realizing like how to hit him in certain situations, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be something that's going to be a trend, but like he had a loss this week again where it was like they lost 1-0. I can't remember who it was that they were playing before the Reds, but it's just like he went 8 innings, allowed one run, and you guys lost the game 1-0.
It sounds like the Reds. I mean, that just sounds like the Reds.
Yeah. Yeah, the Reds
It's
have
kind of
done
like the
stuff like
Hunter
that.
Green, man. It's like the Hunter Green situation. It's
Hmm.
like how much more time are we going to waste with this guy until he decides to go make real money? Um, yeah, I mean, you said everything I would say about Skeens. Like he's that guy, and I think you can't beat that at all. So, I think I'll end with my DH. We'll end with our DH,
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
I'm actually going to go the opposite route that you think I'm going to go. Right? You always think DH, big poppy, dude's
We're
just
thinking of a
raking.
big bat that we
Yeah,
need
you're
to
thinking
take
of big
advantage
bat,
of.
right? I'm thinking of what is going to add to my team that I already have. What is something that, like, I have a lot of dudes that are boppers, man. I have dudes that are going to be raking 25, 30 home runs a year, right? I'm actually going with a guy who I think many people wouldn't think of putting in this situation. I'm going to go Jacob Wilson here.
Jacob Wilson at
I'm
DH.
thinking
Okay.
I'm thinking a guy who can be a slap hitter, could hit in the gap, guy could get on base. And that's what I think of a DH, a designated hitter, a guy who can just rake. Like he doesn't have to hit bombs. Like I think I'm a guy that like whenever I played, MLB The Show, like I had DH guys who only hit like 8 home runs. It's a guy who I know is going to get on base because that's your job is to hit. You don't care about the fielding, right? But with Jacob Wilson, I think is a guy who I can fits all of that for me mentally when I'm thinking of a
Hmm.
DH.
I rode with James Wood at DH. The opposite reasons. I
Yeah,
think he's
of
going to be a
course.
big bat, and it's like I don't
You had less
know.
boppers though in your I think feel like in your lineup.
Yeah, like as far as the power goes, I don't know if I have a guy. Well, I might have
You might have a
some
lot of
guys that push
15 to
30.
25 home run guys.
Gunner at his best can hit 30 home runs. Well,
Yeah.
Pete might be on pace to hit 30. Uh, I guess we'll see what happens if Merrill and Churio ever get bats that big, if Caminero can get
Exactly. That's
consistent.
what I'm
But
saying. Yeah.
Wood's definitely a guy that I'd be surprised if he did not get 30. So uh, yeah, that's who I decided to go with that DH here. But I like the Jake Wilson pick. I'm glad that you found a way to or a way to figure out how to get him in that lineup. You got Wood and Wilson over there, and I went with Soderstrom at first instead of Wood. So yeah, just different decisions right there. As far as who we wanted on defense and stuff, but I like what we came up with. I figured we'd have some of the same guys at some
Yeah.
of these spots, but differed at some of the other ones.
Yeah. But hey, with that, let us know down in the comments. What do you think of our U23 team? How would you change it? Would you add anything? Would you take anything away? Um, are we truly crazy? I mean, which we all know that that's a fact, but um, let us know what your thoughts are down below, and also just let us know verbally if you see us. And I'm sure my dad will have a lovely comment about how we're totally wrong and how every red that's under 23 should be on the team. But you're wrong, Dad. Anyways, with that, we're going to move into one last baseball topic before we finish up the show with a couple other small things. And Josh, you brought this up to me. You wanted to talk about kind of these 3 manager changes that are happening within May, which is kind of on not completely crazy, but it's also one thing where you usually let the guy go through at least June and then you make a switch. But yeah, give us what kind of you wanted to
Yeah.
thoughts for us.
So first it was Bud Black to
Well, that's not
go from
surprising because the Rockies
the
suck.
Colorado
They're so
Rockies, and it's
bad.
just like
No wonder
all
the
of
no wonder the
these.
NL West is fine. You got the
Yeah,
Rockies you're playing every 5 games.
all of these are just kind of like what could the manager have done better? And
Yeah.
I think Bud Black might be the most uh, scapegoat firing right here. I've read a little bit about the Rockies being just behind in the times. A lot of their front office members and scouting team was hired in the 90s and is still there, and they haven't adapted.
Why?
So
Why would you?
all that time of not like I guess getting with the times, and we're not even talking about just like with the way that people keep stats now. Like we're
Yeah,
just talking like all around
like
technology and
relationships.
relationships. Yeah, it's just like so they are definitely a sign that there needs to be some change in that front office, and they think that it's elsewhere. It's Bud Black's fault, but I don't think it is. They're 8-40 right now. They are on pace to be one of the worst sports teams of all time. Like a
They're gonna
couple
blow. They're
weeks
gonna make
ago,
the White Sox, who were terrible last year, look like a golden
we've
saint.
gotten to see the A's 2 years ago, the White Sox last year, and now the Rockies this year, like outdo each other for how bad a baseball team can
I'm
be.
just glad it's not the Guardians or Reds. You know, I can say that about the Reds season.
If you're a Rockies fan, I guess the hope you cling
Wait,
to is
there's
look at the
Rocky
A's right
fans?
now.
There's Rockies fans out there?
None that listen to this show, but if there happens to be one by accident,
We're
the
sorry.
A's right now are they're still in last place in their division right now, but they are exciting and have gotten better, much better since then. So the second one, this was not too long after that, was Derek Shelton from the
Yeah.
Pirates. Another situation where it's like he's got a AAA batting order right now, basically,
Yeah.
but I think out of all the managers, this is the one that makes the most sense because he's been here the longest.
Yeah.
From what I've read, he's also had some like questionable decisions or like assistant hires or stuff like that. That'd be like, okay, that's a little bit more on the manager. That's what you look for. While he also doesn't have the talent to really compete, he's also not really handling the situations, the tough situations really well, and making the right calls there. But Pittsburgh right now is 17 and
Also with a
33.
beautiful park, by the way. You're ruining like people don't realize how beautiful Pittsburgh's park is, and yet they've
Yeah,
never been good enough to like have it be
what
a quality
a
place.
waste of a facility and a fan base. But anyway, um,
That's coming more from the Brown side of things because we just can't stand that fan
yeah.
base.
The most recent one, and the one that I was shocked by, dude, was
Oh
Brandon
yeah,
Hyde in Baltimore.
like after
On
what he
one
did
hand,
last year.
this is a guy that has won 101 and 99 games, I think, back-to-back seasons,
Yeah.
but also a guy that has been through the mud in a 100 loss season too. But Baltimore was one of those teams that we talked about at the start of the year. I thought that there was enough still there between guys like Adley, Gunner. I thought Jackson would figure out Colton Cowser, uh, that okay. Yes, they lost Corbin Burns and they only replaced him with Charlie Morton. Yes, they lost
Charlie
Anthony
Moore's been awful,
Santander.
by the way.
Yeah, seven. His ERA is in the sevens. Lost Anthony Santander, replaced him with Tyler O'Neill. It's like, okay, these are terrible, I guess, solutions by Mike Elias, the GM over there. But I thought that the offense would be enough to still compete for like a wild card spot there, or maybe even still the division with New York. But it has not been the case. Even running through, like, let me go ahead and tell you how bad it's been over here, Ben. Um, Adley Rutschman is hitting 213. Cedric Mullins is hitting 236. Gunnar Henderson hitting 257. Uh, Mount Castle over at first base hitting 230. Uh, Colton Cowser's been hurt. Tyler O'Neill, that guy that they went out and got, I think he has also been hurt, but he's hitting 188 when he is healthy. This offense is absolutely atrocious and in no way Brandon Hyde's fault. This is
And Austin
everything to
Hayes
do
is to
with
the Reds. It's hitting 325 with the Reds right now. A guy who they let go, let just walk after last year.
this has everything to do with Elias not putting a good team together. This
No,
is
yeah,
what
yeah.
they apparently they had the pocketbooks opened up to be able to make some signings if they needed to, and I guess their big paydays were Charlie Morton and Tyler O'Neill. But yeah, it's the GM set him up to fail, and I guess he's looking for a guy to blame, and he's going to blame his manager instead, who's won Manager of the Year before too, which very recently. So that
Yeah.
was one that's just like I think that was the stupidest of them all.
Well, it's also like it feels like we're back to like soccer again, where like soccer managers, man, they'll fire six of them in one year. Like it just feels like the expectation is you either win, and once they see, it's like I see this in Europe all the time, especially in American football here in Hungary specifically. If a team does not win and their expectation from the owner is we're going to win, or the president we're going to win, and you don't win, it's like, oh, it's a failure. Let's scrap everything. You don't have
Hmm.
to. Like, okay, he has a down year. Maybe he only wins 75 games this year or 70 games. You don't have to scrap everything. You have a great foundation. And obviously the players like playing for him. Obviously the fans, and like it seems like they're kind of upset about this. So I'm interested to see like who they're going to like replace him with, because look, the Reds finally made the right decision, because there's certain guys like the Reds where they kept Bell for so long and it was like, dude, when are you getting rid of this guy? Whereas like with this, it's like, but Bell had no success. This, there's success. So what do you value more of? Success, or you want it to be like legit contender every single year? That's where you got to figure it out.
Hmm.
That's my thought.
I don't think that we will see another in-season manager hiring, at least not from like
No, I
scrolling
don't
through the
think so.
records. Like the White Sox are still 15-35, but they're with a first-year manager right now. I doubt that they give up that early, especially after the historically awful season last year.
Yeah.
Marlins are 19-29, but they're young and exciting and got their moment,
Yeah.
so I think they're gonna continue to ride that out. And then as far as like maybe disappointing starts, like I don't know if maybe the Angels would
Brewers, I think.
yeah, his name escapes me. He's been there a couple seasons, but they're 24-26, not where you would have expected them to be. And then the Angels with Ron Washington, he's been there for a few years. I wonder if they'll eventually later in the year get tired of that or maybe wait till the end of the season. But yeah, as far as like these early ones, like I don't think we're going to see another one in the next few days like we did with these where it was like bam, bam, bam.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those I think we're going to see a lot of moves offseason. I think this offseason you're going to see a lot of manager moves. I think you're going to see a lot of like shifting around with managers in baseball. That's just my opinion, I think. That's just what I think on that. I think you're going to see it a lot more after the season when it comes to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot of baseball talk, but we're going to finish up with two quick kind of thoughts before we wrap up the show. First thought, um, we obviously on Wednesday, as we're recording this, got the vote in the NFL. If you didn't know, there's owners, they vote on new rules, new rule recommendations. There was a vote that NFL players can play in the Olympics in flag football, which the flag football current players are not happy about. I don't know if you've read some of those things. Like, oh, so they think they can just come in here when they haven't helped develop the game. I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. You are a nobody. And we have Justin Jefferson wanting
Develop
to
the
play.
game.
Like the game of flag football. And I'm like, excuse me, bud. I know you're the quarterback there, but if I have the choice of Lamar Jackson being a quarterback or you,
They're
I'm
playing
just gonna,
flag football because they
yeah,
couldn't cut it in the NFL.
exactly, exactly. So this guy is like, because he's worried he's going to lose his spot. He's been on all the world teams for like the last 10 years. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry. If I have a choice between Tyreek Hill, wide receiver, or you, I'm taking Tyreek, right?
Mhm.
I think it's a great thing to let these guys go and try to be on the flag football team. I think it's gonna be fun to watch seeing these NFL guys out there. I'm sure the NFL GMs are terrified that
I was
these
gonna
guys are gonna
say,
get
I
hurt.
wonder how many are even actually going to be all about it with how they treat the
I
Pro
think I
Bowl and
think that
stuff like that.
I think you're gonna see a lot of receivers that are gonna be willing to do it. Guys that are more like skill based. I don't think you'll see a lot of like I don't think you're gonna see a lot of quarterbacks. I don't think you're gonna see a lot of I think it could be a wide receiver at quarterback. Like I just think you're gonna see
That's kind
less
of
of
like how
those.
flag works. I don't know really the official flag football rules on
Yeah.
like offensive and defensive lines and stuff like
No, you
that,
only
but
have one. You don't have the center can go out for a pass. There's one center, and he goes out for a pass.
okay.
So yeah, that's interesting. But the other vote that everyone was talking about was, will the tush push be allowed? And I'm afraid to tell you, it will be allowed one more year to try to stop the tush push. And look, my opinion as someone who's coaching football right now, I've always believed it's a game of chess. If you can't stop it, I'm sorry. Like, deal with it. Like, find a way to stop it. I think it's terrible that you're going to go try to change the rule because you can't stop it. That's just my opinion. I don't know about you, Josh.
Yeah, I've always felt the same way. Is like if it's so like such an advantage, why is Philly the only team that can figure out how to make it work? Like, wouldn't we be seeing all these other teams just like, okay, now we got
Yeah, why don't we
all
try it?
32 teams in the league that can just, get a free touchdown because the tush push is such a cheat code, but Philly's the only one that's figured it out, and so everyone's trying to take that weapon away from them, and I'm just like, all right, well, if it's that easy, why can't you figure it out? And two, if you're gonna just sit here and whine about it, like try to like figure out a way to stop it, and then maybe they'll stop it. I don't know.
You do pay your defense coordinators like $3 million a year, so
Yeah.
yeah, just might want to think about talking to them. Yeah, it's an interesting concept there. But then the other news that to kind of finish up the show was coming from the basketball world, and that was as we're recording this. It just happened like about a couple hours ago as we were recording this. Is that a lot of people I think thought whoever won this series, even though it's supposed to be a regular season award, but obviously whoever won this series, I think was winning the MVP. And obviously the Nuggets lost to the Oklahoma City Thunder, who I personally believe are going to win it all now. I think I think there's a good shot they do. Um, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he wins the MVP for the 2025 season. Many thought because of Jokic's just wacky numbers he would, but as I've always said, they're not going to give a white guy a third MVP in a row.
Nope, they're not.
It's
So
not
this
going to happen.
was
It was
this
always in the
was the
cards.
this was the most it's someone else's turn MVP I can recall. We've seen LeBron, I guess, not get MVPs before because it's been other people's turn, but even more so, like this is Nikola Jokic doing once again things that nobody's done, finishing top three in like all the major categories, and no one's ever finished top three in more than like two or three
Also,
of them
what a
before, whatever it
betrayal by
was.
Mike Malone, by the way, going on ESPN and saying that Gilgeous-Alexander is his MVP. I'm like, are you serious?
You
You
got to
spent
see
8 years
up close.
with Nicola, and you decide
Yep.
that, oh, I'm sorry. That's just him being salty at the
But
net
Shy won the
Nuggets. But
scoring title, and he flops a lot, so he gets a lot of free throws. So that's very valuable, guys. And
and look, the nice thing about Jokic is he's not going to make a big fuss about it. He doesn't really care.
no,
Like he
he
honestly does
Jokic,
not
when you hear
care.
him in interviews, sounds like he hates his job.
Yeah, he's like,
Like
when can I go
he
home?
plays basketball because he has to earn a living for his family or something like that. Like you're talking to a guy that like works in like the coal mines or something like that, and it's like, yeah, I can't wait to go home now. They ask him like, you shoveled the most coal or like wheeled out this many barrels. Like, how does it make you feel? He's like, I can't wait to go home now or something like that. Or
Yeah, but look, in my mind, Nikola Jokic deserved to win this, and again,
it's a
I don't
joke,
like
man.
I listen, I don't like be getting political, and I joke about political stuff all the time because I think it's funny, but this just really frustrated me because it just goes to show you that like it's not based on performance anymore. It's not based on what you do on the court. It's based on how do we please people from not getting too oversensitive or too offended by everything. Like that's the really frustrating part. Am I
Yeah.
wrong, Josh? Am I wrong? Because I feel like that's where I'm
Well,
at.
there's definitely like I think a skin color element involved because that clip of JJ Redick calling out Stephen A. Smith and Kendrick Perkins that went viral that one time is like absolutely true how like the NBA media views the players like that. But I think maybe more so than that is just like I was saying, it's this is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's turn because we can't give too many guys too many MVPs for very long. We saw this with Michael Jordan being beat out by Charles Barkley. We've seen LeBron beaten out by Derrick Rose before. We've seen now, most recently, Nikola Jokic beaten out by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and there's absolutely no way anybody in their conscious mind believes that, but they're just looking for ways to give it to somebody else because they don't want someone else to get too many MVPs
Yeah.
because
It
that's bad for the league for some reason.
yeah, because it's
I don't
so
know.
bad that the best player in the world.
Honestly, all the NFL kind of does that too, though.
Well, it's like it's funny that the best player in the world doesn't get the MVP. Huh. Funny how that works.
Yeah.
And like LeBron James is getting his honorary doctorate degree from Ohio State for things.
For
I'm
all
like,
the
okay.
impact that he's made on Akron and its failing school and no one can read at their actual
Yeah,
grade
I
level.
just like whatever. It's
Well
whatever.
done, sir.
This is my other thing, and I wanted to finish up with this topic. I didn't tell you about this topic because I wanted to kind of get your like raw thought on this. What do you think about the whole Ryan Clark and RG3 thing with Caitlin Clark and the thing? Because look, my opinion is this: everyone has the right to their opinion, right? And as much as we can disagree, but I think we have to honor other opinion. But I feel like when you bring family into it, you kind of have decided to go past
It's
the
personal
whole
if you're bringing that
yeah.
in.
And the
It's
thing
not
is,
about the
if
actual
you look at the play, I
court.
agree because as someone who played basketball and someone who coached, that was just a normal like you didn't want to give them a free bucket, so you foul them. And was it a
Yeah,
little
it
hard?
wasn't
Was it a
hard or
little
malicious,
hard?
but it
Was it a little physical? Yeah, but Caitlin
was
Clark.
it intentional,
The
yes, but
thing
it
is,
wasn't hard or malicious.
Caitlin Clark never tried to hurt anyone. She just turned around and said, "Okay, I fouled her. Whatever, I'll move on." But now that's besides the play's not a big deal. What I'm more talking about is the Ryan Clark situation because Ryan Clark says this to RG3 and brings the fact that he is married to a white girl, basically. So
Yeah.
my question is this: is that when has and again it goes back to Nikola Jokic and it goes back to Gilgeous-Alexander. Why does that matter? First off, second off, why are you bringing someone's family into it when your job is literally to talk about sports, not about someone's family? And that's when I Ryan Clark, I've always had issues with him because he's always really extreme. He's really far left. He loves to let you know that.
Very soft, big
And that's the
crybaby.
thing. The one thing I like about Stephen A. Smith is at least he admits when
Virtue
things,
signaler,
at least,
pro clutcher.
yeah, at least Stephen A. at least like will somewhat come in the middle at times. But am I just crazy or do I feel like this is across the line to where like, can he ever walk this back?
No,
Because
I thought that
RG3,
was
because RG3 made it very clear. You could tell, like, don't ever do this again to me.
yeah, absolutely
And I'm not
insane.
even a fan
Yeah.
of RG3, by the way. I'm not even a fan of
I'm
his.
not like I start off as just like, wow, it took RG3 like 3 years to see that Angel Reese actually hates Caitlin Clark, and there's probably like some like racial undertones there because everybody in women's basketball hates Caitlin Clark because she's white and is face of the league and not like a black lesbian, so they feel a certain type of way about it. And RG3 like finally realized that after this play and all the reactions that have come from it. It's like, okay, RG3, like you finally pulled your head out of the sand and like observed something that we all knew a long time, but
Yeah.
golf clap to you for recognizing that anyway. And then Ryan Clark goes on this rant about how wrong he couldn't be more wrong on that take because he's married to a white girl basically, and he's not black enough to have an opinion on this. And then RG3 answers with like a really long tweet and a video of him and his wife, and it's like, well, my wife like, does a lot of charity work for all these people in need of all colors, and it's like, see, so like she might be white in skin, but she's like black in heart or something like that. I don't know what message he was trying to get at there, but it's
He
just like, oh
basically
my
wanted to
gosh,
say
man.
screw you, but he didn't want to say screw you. Is basically what
Yeah,
he wanted to say.
yeah,
But also, like,
yeah. So
why
it,
does
it
Ryan
became
Clark
it
always do
became
this?
not about the Caitlin Clark Angel Reese rivalry. It became about is Ryan Clark or RG3 more black? And then people were bringing up Ryan Clark having a kid with a white woman before he married whoever black chick that he's married to now. But yeah,
Someone, well,
it became
no.
not about what was going on the court, which is very common for, all the ESPN personalities to talk not about things happening in sports, not about results, not about statistics, not about plays, but about identity politics.
There's only one show that can do that, and I actually learned stuff from, and that is the basketball show with Ernie Johnson and all them, because it's actually funny. But my thing is this, right? Like, and this is my issue is that RG3, like, he tried to be civil. Like, obviously, this whole response, he was trying to be civil, but like, Ryan Clark's going to take something from that and be like, oh, look at this. And I love what RG3 said. He's like, that just shows you how low of a man you are. Like, he was very
Mhm.
blunt. He's like, the fact that you're not willing to just, like, he even said, like, just come talk to me on my podcast about my take. But like, why do you have to, on basically national airwaves, basically say like, hey, this is why RG3 believes this? And I think,
Yeah.
what if we said that about a white guy, right? Like, and we talked about how there's a black person involved with that. Like, that would be like on the racist side of it. So I don't understand. Like, it just doesn't make sense how it can be a one way street, right? I feel like
Yeah.
that's just wrong.
That I'll go ahead and end it with I agree or disagree with Robert Griffin III on almost every take he has, but he's always a class act online or on
That is
TV
true.
and in video when he gets into like these potentially heated debates. Like
Vigorous,
he
yeah,
he keeps his cool and never goes on any personal attacks.
yeah. And I
Can he say
respect
some
that.
stuff that's cringe? Yes,
Yeah,
but
and we
he
both
never
have
like
said
makes it
that.
personal.
Like, there are guys in media that we respect because they keep it professional and they try not to push the boundaries, right? But anyways, long story short, sports is crazy
Yeah,
and we're
Scotty
crazy.
Scheffler also won his third
That is
PGA
true.
championship, I
He did.
believe.
And then John
My
Rahm
friend
said,
Sam told me I had to mention
and
that.
also John Rahm said that he said, what did they talk about, like him because he flunked basically the last round, and they said, how do you feel like that? Something like either him or someone said close to him was like, yeah, he made 6 million or whatever. I've made like 216 million this year because he's with Live Golf. I just thought that was so funny. He's like, dude, I don't really care. I'm making way beyond anyone's making money. But anyways,
Nice.
just funny. Again, I don't know if that was a quote or someone said that, but I just saw that and I thought it was hilarious because it's true. He is making like triple what Scheffler's making in Live Golf. But anyways, I hope you guys had an amazing time with us tonight. If you have enjoyed listening, watching, go click that thumbs up on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and also comment down below. What are your thoughts on what's going on in baseball? What are your thoughts going on in basketball? Is Jokic the MVP? Yes, he is. But you can say who you ever think it is. You can say it's LeBron. But anyways, I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. Listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Go out with friends and family. It could be nice. Should be nice weather. So go out and enjoy the weather. And yeah, it's been fun. And until next time, we'll see ya.